Hello and welcome to our Fit for Success podcast. My name is Kristen Nolan. I'm a health expert and speaker for busy professional women and men. And today I'm interviewing accelerated results expert, Nikkea Devida. Today's interview is absolutely for you if you are a high performer, but you find that you have a tendency of getting in your own way when it comes to self-care or seeing the results that you want to with your personal and professional life. If it needs to be organized, systematized, and monetized, Nikkea is your go-to resource for proven, efficient systems to get clear, get unstuck, get going, and get results. Her clients often call her their secret weapon to becoming unstoppable. That's because she's gifted at identifying the root cause of the problem and the right system to create the fastest path to lasting and sustainable results. And quick plug for Nikkea, I went through her limiting beliefs system training and I was blown away. I used to have this belief that I was afraid of public speaking. I did her training and I got onto a stage and spoke in front of 300 people 2 weeks later without any troubles. Okay, so she is a master at her craft. Nikkea, I want to welcome you to our show. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. I'm so excited to share this information. It's such an important topic that you put together. So I'm excited to jump in.
Thank you so much. Well, let's do just that. Nikkea, how do you feel that your self-care efforts affect your performance in your business? Are there any specific and tangible results that you have noticed as a result of taking better care of yourself?
Yeah, there's no question. They are directly correlated. And, I'm kind of a walking example that I wouldn't be here today if I wasn't utilizing self-care on a daily basis in my life. And I want to, and there's a point to this because we're talking about self-care and really taking great care of yourself. Because I want to relate my story as it relates to that I believe that your self-worth and your self-care are absolutely interrelated. I heard an echo. Are we good there?
No, we're good. Yes, thank you. Say that one more time.
Yeah, because it's critical that people understand that to the extent that they manage their self-care, it's a direct correlation also to your sense of self-worth. So would it be okay if I share kind of a story of how this can unfold for people, that if you're having trouble with your self-care efforts, there's probably some self-worth and some stuff that you need to process such that you're willing to put yourself first and your self-care first before the other things. We've heard in the airline industry, put on your own oxygen mask first before you assist others. Well, your self-care is the same way. You can't show up powerfully for others until you show up powerfully for yourself. So your self-care, your self-love, your self-worth is integrally related. So let me share, if it's okay, a little bit about my background, because what people see is, this part right now that kind of looks put together, right? But you don't know the backstory. And we all have backstory. And so I want to share a little bit of mine, because if you're struggling with self-care, this piece might be important for you to understand for yourself, that you have to overcome that. And then you'll be able to put that self-care first. So, and of course I systemize everything. So what I like to say is that my background is full of a lot of BS, not the kind that you're thinking. So let me share what I mean by that. First BS is I'm a born singer and a born systemizer. So I'm very creative, as a singer-songwriter, but I'm also a born systemizer. I can systemize and organize anything. That sounds good, except there was an inner struggle going on about which one was going to win, right? The left or the right. And while the inner struggle was going on, there was an outer struggle going on. That the next BS is what I call my brother struggle. And since we have a limited time, I'll do just a short synopsis where when my parents divorced when I was 9, from the time I was 9 to about 18, I was brutally beaten by my brother nearly every day. Now, this included physical, emotional, verbal abuse, but it included hospital visits, stitches, being knocked unconscious. I mean, it was severe, right? So
Wow.
people are asking a lot of times, well, where were your parents? Well, I live with my mother, but she at the time was like 75, 80% deaf. So she didn't even hear what was going on, right? So I learned that, and then even when I did go to her, she didn't believe me or she didn't really want to be bothered, right? Added to that, everyone in my immediate family was mentally ill. We didn't know it then, but borderline personality disorder and bipolar. So
Oh my
add
God.
that distortion. So the beliefs and the self-worth or lack of that I got were, you know, my environment isn't safe. Even when I do speak up, it doesn't matter. So no protection, no value. So I got all the negative beliefs around who I am and, my value and so forth. So the last thing I did was put myself first. I was always the bottom of the barrel, right?
Right.
Okay, fast forward. Obviously, I wanted to get out of there, out of that environment. And the next BS is I got a Bachelor of Science at the Air Force Academy. I was a military officer. So I escaped by going into the military, which had its own, as you can imagine, challenges and limitations and, trauma, more additional trauma in addition to my childhood. Fast
Mm-hmm.
forward when at the next BS is what I call my bulimia struggle. So all of this stuff that happened, all the abuse, the trauma, and so forth, had to come out somehow. And it came out in an eating disorder, bulimia, where I was binging and purging anywhere from 2 to 6 times a day, every single day for, nearly 2 decades. And so, in order to overcome it, I did all the traditional things, therapy and all that. I was even hospitalized for 4 months when I was in the military, and it led to a medical discharge from the Air Force. And then after that, I was, looking all the the traditional things didn't work for me. So that's how I got into the mind-body alternative side of things to see what was going to work here. And I kind of jokingly say that there's not a modality I didn't write a check to. And a
Right.
lot of them left me feeling good, but it didn't get me results. And that was frustrating. So I kept trying. And it wasn't until the next BS that I learned about belief systems, particularly subconscious beliefs. When I learned how to change my own beliefs, subconscious beliefs, I was able to overcome the eating disorder very quickly. In fact, within about 6 weeks after, nearly 2 decades of challenge with it. And here's the thing, all along, I had done a lot of other modalities that were, great modalities. I even became a certified trainer or a practitioner in about 12 different ones. But even though I had all that skill, nothing really landed until I changed my subconscious beliefs. So naturally, once I saw that I got results there, I started applying it to other areas of my life. I got results with those. Then I started sharing it with other people. And of course, I systemized it. And so that I could teach it so that other people could get the same results in terms of benefiting their lives. And so that's really how I became an accidental entrepreneur. And so my whole business started from self-care, in that I had to get that dialed in. Otherwise, I wasn't going to make it. So self-care, a good fitness plan, eating plan, things like that are really central. Plus, the mindset side of things, that is central to my self-care plan. And I have to do it. And I do it. And I program myself to enjoy doing it. That makes sense?
Yeah, it all makes sense. And first, I mean, let me just say how I'm so sorry about all that stuff you went through. It's just nuts. I mean, and you've come out of it in a way that is so empowered, and it's just admirable to talk to you about these things, because I just am beyond impressed about how you've, really structured your business in a way to take all this trauma and turn it into your triumph, right? Essentially is what you've done. So
Like kind of one of the things I say, turn your trauma into transformation and, and triumphs. Absolutely. And everyone else can do the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's amazing. And I've done your subconscious belief work. So I know it's a game changer for a lot of people. Yeah. So tell me this, have you ever had a time where you got so overwhelmed with your business that you totally let yourself go? And if this is the case, how do you feel that this affected your productivity and your ability to show up as a leader? And how did you recover?
Yeah, great question. And, absolutely having your own business, you're wearing every single hat, and, there just doesn't seem to be enough time in the day to get everything done, right? So there have been times, in real crunch times, push times, that sometimes I wouldn't say I let myself totally go, but, certainly not as on top of it as I would like to be. And so it's, I have like this trifecta of things that I do that really work for me. So, I have, a solid exercise plan, which, there are times where that falls down. In fact, particularly even right now, that's one piece of my trifecta that's not working great, because I have a knee injury, and I just had, that I'm in rehab. So I can't do the stuff that I used to do. So I'm having to modify that. So the exercise or fitness is one. The diet, the eating, eating healthy and so forth, that, there are times when I'm traveling, that's not great, but that's part of my plan, and then the doing my own subconscious belief change work and kind of spiritual practices, that's another part of my plan. So there are really 4 pieces. So at any given time, one of them might slip a little bit, but I don't let all of them slip all the time. And I've programmed myself, because I do my own work, that doesn't happen, that I just regroup and, get that back in track. I can always control my diet, and have better choices, maybe not perfect, but I can always do that. The exercise, there's something I can usually always modify. So even if it's not totally dialed in where I like it to be, so it's not about perfection, it's about progress, and at least not letting everything, go to, what, in a handbasket. And so for me, another key thing is learning to say no. In order to say yes to me, I have to sometimes say no to a lot of other things, especially if they're not, for my business, if they're not revenue generating activities. I just, we only have so much time. Everyone's given the same amount. So it's, what do we do in that time? And I can't delegate my self-care, right? I can delegate a lot of stuff, and I do, but I can't delegate my self-care. So that does have to be primary in some form or fashion. I can get assistance with it sometime. I can, have other people, do my meal prep or do the shopping or things like that for me, and I do, so that it's not, I always have good stuff available when I need it. So I would say, there are definitely times where I've been overwhelmed and things like that, but I at least keep, that some semblance of those 4 things in place, at least good enough to get me by. I don't let all of them fall down. And it's multifaceted, so that it's a strong foundation. It's not just one thing that I do for my self-care. It's several things that are really laying that foundation.
Yeah, it's interesting that you talked about the trifecta. Really, for you, it's 4
really
areas. The fourfecta, is that what you would call that?
Yeah,
I'm not
sure.
I
guess so.
Yeah, I mean, in the practice that I have coaching clients, I always tell them that there's 3 areas. For me, it's metabolism, so what you're eating to feel energized, mood, the spiritual practices. I kind of wind in the spiritual practices with the meditation and the mindset work,
so do
and movement, right? Doing intentional movement that actually feels good to the body. So you mentioned you have a knee injury. One of the things that I specialize in is teaching clients how pain lives in the brain. So just like our subconscious beliefs live in the brain, so does pain, which is so weird when your knee hurts, right? So it's like, so when you have these injuries, I'm so glad, because, one of the things you mentioned was, hey, I'm not pounding it out and doing the things that I used to do. I'm actually taking care of it. And I find that so many people, especially high performers, will end up, pushing through pain and being like, no, I know I used to do this, so I need to still do this. Otherwise, I'm going to get out of shape and blah, blah, blah. But it's so important that you
have to heal properly.
Yeah, you have to rehab it. You have to heal it properly. And then you have to prehab it against things that could re-injure it.
Yep.
Right.
And I've had to really totally change the things that I'm used to doing and just make that work. And that's just the way it is.
Yeah. For now. And then I'm sure that you're going to feel much better,
Exactly.
Because you'll retrain your brain to protect your knee when you're taking it through different ranges of motion, and it's learning how to move through space again. So that's really great. So I know you're really busy, and I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs and executives, and anyone who has a schedule like yours. I mean, you're kind of constantly on the road, probably feels like, and most likely feels like, it's impossible to take care of themselves. So, give us the rundown. I know you kind of went through your Trifecta, but how do you manage to keep your body healthy and energized? And what tips can you give our audience so that they can do the same?
Yeah, sure. So for example, when I'm in my best flow, and again, when you're traveling and sometimes you can't always do this, but when I'm doing my, really the program that feels best for me, I get up at like 6:30 in the morning, and that's when I do my physical activity. And I combine my physical activity with my spiritual practice. Right now, because of the injury, I live across the street from the beach, and normally my routine is to go across the street and either walk or jog and on the beach, and while I'm doing my meditation practice. And I do a particular practice where I'm focusing on different states of energy, and I have some other practices that I do that just set me right for the day. And on the way out, I have a certain set of things that I focus on, and then the way back, I focus on the other. So I combine my meditation and spiritual practice with my exercise. And then, and then in terms of my eating and my food plan, I have like a strength training piece that I do, which is 100 sit-ups, 100 push-ups, 100 lunges, 100 squats, and then I do flexibility training. So I do stretching and things like that for like 15 minutes. So that's like the fitness plan. Now I've had to modify a little bit because of the injury, but still in that modification. So and then on the food side, I do healthy whole foods, and I do some supplementation, but my biggest thing is fruits and vegetables, and then clean protein sources. And I don't do junk food, processed foods. I do very little, like breads and starches and things like that, lots of water. So it's not anything, so big deal, but I'm also not like so anal retentive about it that I don't have fun. And that I don't, from time to time, if people are enjoying dessert or something like that, I have dessert, or I have a glass of wine or whatever. So it's not like I'm so restrictive that I'm not even enjoying some of those things. I do, but it's occasionally as opposed to all the time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it completely makes sense. Yeah. And I think it is good to allow yourself that space to not be so incredibly stringent on it that you feel almost entrapped by your own rules, right?
Yeah.
And, for example, what I'll do is just make sure that, hey, I'm not having more than 3 alcoholic beverages per week. For me, that's my personal number, because it really does affect my mental capacity a lot.
So yeah, plus plus the calories, and things like that.
Yeah, there's that too. And I'm more looking at it for myself. I more look at how it affects my energy and just
Yeah,
my will to be able to
sure.
get through my day in a productive manner and really help people. So yeah, for me, that number is 3 drinks. And I think as
Okay.
long as you are, staying within the confounds of,
Right.
just
Hmm.
some sort of boundaries, then it's a lot easier to keep your health practices on point, even when you do get busy, because you have that
Sure.
discipline,
And
right?
the other really big piece that we've not mentioned yet, but I guess it is a trifecta: sleep.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
You know,
roll that into mood. But yes.
yeah, but it's a very underappreciated area that, and I'm even, historically, I'm not even a good sleeper.
Hmm.
And I'm actually, one of my key things right now, because some of the other things like the exercise I can't do as much. What I'm really focusing on right now is improving my sleep habits, my sleep efficiency, things like that.
Hmm.
So I'm doing things now even inside of another like program. So I'm always looking to up level my
Hmm.
self-care that will directly impact my ability as an entrepreneur to be clear, to be focused on revenue generating activities, and just be a point of attraction energetically for, people who are looking to create a transformation. If I'm not
Yeah.
modeling if I'm not modeling that in my own life and my own business, then, I'm out of integrity, I'm not in alignment with my own work.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
even though I'm not like a health coach or something like that, I think it's still reflective.
Oh
If we're
yeah.
saying that we help other people, well, we need to be able to help ourselves.
Yeah, and I love that you said that because for me it's the same. I need to be in integrity with what I'm actually asking people to do.
Hmm. Yeah,
If I tell them to eat certain foods and eat them often throughout the day, I sure as heck better be doing it myself. I would feel awkward telling them to do something I wasn't doing. And it's
right,
amazing to me how many entrepreneurs, completely let themselves go and then tell their clients to take care of themselves,
right, right.
not to be like a truth guns person, but a little bit because it really does bother me a lot.
Yeah,
It's hard
me
for me to
too,
put my trust into another coach if they're not in integrity with what they're telling me to do.
for sure.
Like bottom line. So I'm glad you're the same way and that's evident. So, can you tell us a little bit more about the work that you're doing to help your clients bust through limiting beliefs?
Yeah, sure. And this is a big topic with a lot of information that, in the short itty bitty time that we have, I'll give you the best nuggets. So, go ahead and get out a pad of paper and a pen, because I'm going to you'll be able to take a lot of notes that you can take away. And I have gifts for everybody too, that,
Ooh.
that you'll be able to have some resources that are really going to take this further, that you can avail yourself of. And
Hmm.
so I think the biggest thing to understand with respect to beliefs, because, it's mainstream, people understand it, but I want to demystify a few things in helping you connect to it in a real practical way. And I have an equation that I want to share with you that I think will be useful. And so on your paper, go ahead and write a capital B with an arrow to the right to a capital T, with an arrow to the right to a capital F, to an arrow to the right to a capital A, then an equal sign to a capital R. So what this means is your beliefs lead to your thoughts, which lead to your feelings, which lead to your actions, which equal your results. So I'm all about getting results. And the results can be, your self-care, your health, your financial situation, your relationships, etc. So the results are the thing that you want to manifest, right?
Hmm.
So when you are not getting the results that you say that you want, then we need to look to the left of the equation, and that's where you see the A, or actions. Obviously, if you take different actions, you get different results, right?
Hmm.
What's going on there is sometimes people don't know the right actions to take. So
Right.
when that's true, for example, in health and self-care, Kristen, you're the person to go to for people to really understand the information, the education, the right knowledge in order to then take the right result, the right action to get the right result. But wait, how many of us know the right thing to do? So you know the right foods to eat, or that you should exercise, that you should do the self-care practices. You know that, right? But when you're not doing it, you need to go all the way back to the left of the equation to the B for the beliefs, because it's our subconscious programming that's driving the rest of the equation, including the actions. And so when you know what to do and you're not doing it, you need to be looking at those subconscious beliefs. And the way it feels for a lot of people, I like to use analogies, and I use a car analogy, where when you know that there's a certain direction or focus or goal that you want to accomplish, and you're motivated to do it, right? It's kind of like a car analogy where what happens, Kristen, when you have your foot on the brake and your foot on the gas at the same time?
You're stuck.
Exactly.
Or you're going very slow.
Right. And it's really stressful on the engine. The easiest, fastest way to change that is to actually take your foot off the brake. And so the equivalent of that, because when you do that, you can just move smoothly in the direction that you say that you want to go to that result. Right. So the equivalent of the foot on the brake are those subconscious limiting beliefs that are holding us back. And literally, it can be as easy, and I'll share a little bit about that a little bit more. You can take the foot on the brake by changing those subconscious limiting beliefs that are in your way, and you can actually do it very quickly. I put together the process where you can literally do it in minutes once you learn how to do it.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. And I can attest to that. That is amazing. So how do people know? I mean, okay, so let's say that I know what to do, but I'm just not doing it. What are some other signs that I can look at that are going to tell me, you know what, something's going wrong with my programming?
Sure.
What does that really look like?
Yeah, the easiest, fastest way is to look at your results. If you don't have the results that you say that you want, and you have the right knowledge and information so you could take the action, then you absolutely have limiting beliefs in your way. Now, there are other more technically accurate ways, and that's one of my free gifts that I have to give to you too, to determine what are your limiting beliefs. But that really is a good litmus test to determine that. But the thing that you may not understand is that not all beliefs are created equal. So one, I make, and that's on two levels. There are a difference between conscious beliefs and subconscious beliefs. I'm specifically talking about subconscious beliefs because that's where the power is. And even with respect to the subconscious beliefs, there are things that I call the kingpins, or the core beliefs, that are really at the root of the challenge. So not all beliefs are created equal in terms of their weight or impact on our lives. And an example of that, I use another analogy called the log jam analogy, where if you imagine in the logging industry, all the logs, floating down the river, and then there's a jam. Well, one way, very ineffective and inefficient way to clear the jam is to just randomly around the river start picking off logs, hoping you're going to get to the jam. Well, the same is true with our beliefs. The easiest, fastest way to clear the jam is to go directly where the jam occurred. You remove those beliefs that are causing the jam, and then all the other logs are going to flow down the river with little or no resistance. So you want to get to those kingpins, or those core beliefs, those core logs that are creating the jam. And so, for example, with the ACT process, that's exactly what it's designed to do, to find those kingpins, such that once you reprogram those, and it's not just about eliminating them. In the case of ACT, you're simultaneously installing the positive belief while uninstalling or deprogramming the negative belief in one process that just takes minutes. So in this sense, clearing those core beliefs is the most important thing for you to do first to get the biggest bang for the belief change buck.
Yeah, and I remember doing that because when you change the core ones, then the rest of them can just,
Exactly.
you
So
don't need to change every single one of them
that's
necessarily.
right.
Yeah, so
And
that was news to me.
based on our background and our programming, everybody's a little bit different. So my core belief isn't necessarily yours. Yes, of course, there can be some overlap, and especially those not enough beliefs,
Hmm.
all of those. Yeah, sure, that's true. But everybody's is programmed in a little bit differently, so it needs to be reprogrammed a little bit differently. And the good news is
Hmm.
the ACT process, it really does show you how to pinpoint with pinpoint accuracy and no guesswork, shows you how to identify the highest priority belief in the right order with the right change tool, whether it's one of the ACT tools or any other modality that and how to know when you're done changing the individual belief, as well as how do you know when you got all the kingpins that you needed to for that goal. So in that sense,
Hmm.
it's a very robust process of change to reprogram those beliefs.
Right, right. Okay, awesome. I love that. Well, thank you for sharing a little bit about that. And, because I know that you are an expert at helping entrepreneurs and executives or anyone in our audience to bust through limiting beliefs, what advice do you have for entrepreneurs in our audience who still feel like, and they have this limiting belief that they're too busy to make time to take care of themselves?
Well, how's it working for you so far?
Right?
It's like the first question, like, how's that going?
How's
So,
that going?
the big thing to understand too with the beliefs and especially the way I approach it, and one of the gifts I have for you is a more comprehensive audio and video tutorial that you can dive more into the details of this. But there's 4 distinctions between the conscious and subconscious mind. And we don't have time to go into all of them. But the one thing that I really want to emphasize is the power between the subconscious and the conscious mind. So the speed and processing capacity of the conscious mind is 2,000 bits of information per second, which sounds like a lot, but the subconscious is 4 billion bits of information per second.
Wow.
So if you do the math, 99.99995% of the power of the results that you get are driven by the subconscious mind. Only 1/100,000th of 1% is the power of the conscious mind. So you cannot reprogram and the other thing is you cannot reprogram your subconscious beliefs with your conscious mind. So the other thing is, we talk about repetition, a lot of people say the repetition, all that doesn't work because the language of the subconscious mind is different than the language of the subconscious mind. And I think to drive that point home is a little analogy in imagine, let's play a game, Kristen, where if I'm the conscious mind trying to get a message to the subconscious mind, let's say you're the subconscious mind, I'm the conscious mind, and I speak Italian, you speak English, we have no translator. If I'm conveying a message to you, conscious mind, to the subconscious mind, if I'm speaking a different language, Italian, are you going to understand it?
No, no comprendo.
No. And so what if I say it over and over, still no translator, no, tutorial, are you going to get it?
Nope.
No, repetition is not the answer to get to the subconscious mind. Let's just say that. People say, oh, 30 days, this, that, it's not true.
Right.
It's just like if we had a word processing document and you wanted to change a word processing document, do you need to like reinforce the save? Do you need to do it over and over? No. You call up the document, you edit, you save, and you're done. The same is true with our subconscious. You don't need repetition, right? So what you need is to understand the right language to get to the subconscious mind.
Right.
And another thing that people don't understand is through a process called genomic imprinting, you were downloaded your subconscious beliefs as far back as 2 months prior to conception.
Wow.
Conception. So a lot of these beliefs aren't even yours, and they may or may not have happened through trauma. So, the genomic imprinting, then in utero, you were absorbing other beliefs with no filter. Then ages 0 to 5, same thing with no filter. And it wasn't until, you're age 10, 11, 12 years old, does your conscious mind mechanism really kick in to say, I don't think that makes sense for me. So imagine all the beliefs that you were downloaded. And then that's independent of potentially any trauma you may have experienced. So we often don't just have 1 or 2 or 3 beliefs that need to change. We often have, in a particular area, we might have dozens or hundreds. But when we get to the kingpin, once we get the kingpin, all the rest are able to go in line. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally does. Wow, thanks for explaining that. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I remember going through, and you just have this feeling too that one of them might be, one that is probably more of a kingpin. But I love your process that helps to show you whether it is or not, right? Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you for explaining that, because I know that there's so many people who have a lot of limiting beliefs around weight loss and around the getting healthy process. So, so much that I decided to take your course because I saw what a problem it was for my clients. So tell us this, Nikkea, where can our audience learn more about your work?
Sure. Where you can go is there's some gifts that I can give to you, and the URL for those, and I'll explain the gifts, is www.fastresultsformula.com/Kristen, and Kristen is in lowercase letters, so I'll spell it, www.fast, F-A-S-T, results with an S, R-E-S-U-L-T-S, formula, formula.com/Kristen, Kristen, and that's in lowercase letters. There's 5 gifts there for you. And the ones that I think are going to be really useful, I'll highlight 2, even though I have 5 there. The one of them is a video tutorial where you can communicate with your subconscious mind directly and identify your own limiting beliefs. So that's a tool that you can use to identify, oh my gosh, where am I off, right? So there's a video tutorial for that. And then also, if what I'm saying is resonating with you and you're like, I think I probably have some limiting beliefs, but let's have a chat about it. I'm offering an accelerated breakthrough session where you can have a conversation directly with me. There's an application process where there's a questionnaire for you to fill out, and it's an opportunity to apply. Fill out the questionnaire, and then you'll be sent to a link to schedule a time directly with me. And they're limited sessions, especially with my travel and speaking schedule. But go ahead and fill out the questionnaire. So even if you might have to wait a little bit, certainly go ahead and jump in and do that. And what that session is, it's not a free belief change session. I believe in empowering you to do it for yourself. So what I want to identify in that conversation is, what's the most strategic thing that you can do to have a breakthrough in the results that you say that you want? Because remember that equation where maybe it's your beliefs, maybe it's your actions, it might be just a slight thing that you need to do that everything will fall into place. I was talking to someone today, she thought it was her beliefs, but in fact, her knowledge was out of whack and her actions were not lined up. So in her case, she needed really more information and education about what to do. It really wasn't her beliefs, at least not yet, that was tripping her up. So really what I'm gifted at is reverse engineering the process of how do you get the best result in the fastest, easiest method possible. Maybe it's your beliefs, maybe it's something else. So this conversation, this breakthrough session, is really about pinpointing exactly, specifically, precisely where things are off. And then pointing you to resources, either with me or someone else, that are really going to enable you to have a breakthrough to get the results that you desire. So I'll highlight those too. I have some audio and webinars and things like that in my e-zine as the other gifts for you to learn more about the whole belief change process and so forth. That you can download those materials and get more education and information that way too.
Amazing. Well, God, thank you so much for being
You're
so
welcome.
generous with your gifts. I can't believe it. So yeah, if you're interested in Nikkea's gift, please go to the URL that she presented. I will also post it on Facebook Live so that you will have it instantly. Nikkea, what final advice can you give to our listeners who want to create inspired action?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is this concept that I call interested versus committed. When we're just interested in getting better results, whether it's with our self-care, fitness, our eating plan, weight loss, whatever, or any other area of our life, when you're just interested in something, it's kind of like dipping your toe in the water. Because when challenges come up, it's not convenient, you're not in the mood, you're too tired, you're too this, you quit. Right?
Yeah.
Versus when you're committed, you're going to do whatever it takes. When there's an obstacle, you're going to go over, around, through, whatever. You're going to make it happen no matter what. You're going to do what it takes. That's at our conscious mind level. Imagine if you had the power of your subconscious mind, that 4 billion bits of information per second processor responsible for over 99.99995% of your results. What if you had the power of your subconscious mind and subconscious beliefs working for you instead of against you to drive the results in your life? That's how you become an unstoppable manifesting machine. And that's how you can get it all dialed in to have it all: the fitness, the health, the self-care, the relationship, the business that's thriving. That's how you dial it in all together, by making sure you have the subconscious beliefs that are lined up to allow you to do that much more easily and efficiently and effectively. So that's what I want to leave you.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful advice to leave us with, and I can concur with Nikkea. It is it is sort of your foundation for everything. Not sort of, it is your foundation for everything. So take her up on that free gift. Now I want to thank you all for coming into Facebook Live and for listening to our interview today. And if any of you are, thinking to yourself, well, I know that subconsciously I do have some beliefs that are holding me back, get on over to Nikkea's site. And for those of you who are ready to take action on your health, on your fitness, go ahead and visit fitforsuccessquiz.com. That's fitforsuccessquiz.com. And you'll see exactly which actions you need to take in order to reach that body and the health and the energy that you really want. So thank you again for listening, and we will see you next time on Fit for Success Live. Bye.
Take care, everybody.